one of those people that I absolutely hated for 3.5 years or for, of my 4-year apprenticeship. But then the last 6 months, you then realise he's just pushing you to become a better person. And then in the last 6 months, you regret not learning more.
G'day guys, welcome back to another episode of Level Up. We're back in the shed this afternoon for another cracking episode. This one's a little bit of a different one. The guest we have with us this afternoon, we actually can't figure out how he's ended up in this seat, but he follows us on social media. I actually think he's been recommended to us by another good builder mate of mine. But anyway, he's a cracking guy, and I can't wait to get stuck into his story. It's had a little bit of a challenging road to get to where he is now. But it's all been worthwhile because last year he took out the Rising Star Award for his region and for Queensland.
Yep.
So that was definitely a huge achievement. But big warm welcome to Todd from Alternative Constructions. How are you, mate?
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. No, it's a pleasure to be here, and can't wait to get amongst the stories. So
yeah, well, mate, I'm looking forward to it. You've I know. So you're mates with Craig Stewart Owned Renovations. So him and I are very good mates, and he takes advantage of my other businesses now with QuoteEaze and Live Like Build and stuff. But he speaks pretty highly of you, so I'm keen to get stuck in the conversation.
I'll have to give him that carton. So,
but mate, so you're a builder.
Yes.
How long have you been building for?
Been a licensed builder for 7 years now, or this is our 8th year, but we've been doing our own thing wholly and solely since 2018. Yeah. So,
So, mate, tell us about your challenges, because I think I'd like to. When we first started this podcast, we used to always ask everyone, "Well, tell us your story. Where'd you come from?" And half an hour later, we'd still be sitting here, and they'd be telling me where they grew up, where they went to school, what grade they finished, and when they got suspended, and all this type of stuff. And so, we've definitely changed the way we go about the podcast. But I'd like to go back to you and how you got started in the industry, because you tried to get in the industry right when the GFC sort of hit. So you had a pretty challenging time.
Definitely.
And I'd like to hear your story, because I know lots of people will think they want to do something or try something, and then they might get 1 or 2 knockbacks, and that's it, they're out. They go and take the easy road. Yeah. So tell us about how you got into it.
Yeah, no, that's all good, and exactly right. I think if I wind it all the way back, if you asked a 6-year-old Todd what he wanted to be, it was a builder. Dead set one. I built tree houses and cubbies and rafts and everything along those lines. And
where does that come from? Like, is there someone in the family,
or I could have been 4th generation plumber, to be honest. But don't want to play with the literal stuff. So so a trade background's always been part of our family, I guess, and working outside and working with your hands and just getting it done necessary. So, but finished high school, and I'd actually had a university degree booked. I'd gone away from that building aspect, and I took a gap year.
What were you going to do at uni?
Zoology, actually. Turns out though I don't really like animals, so go figure. I'm not one to hang a snake around my neck or anything like that. Like, I love them. I won't kill them or anything like that. But
so why were you going to go into something
I don't know.
Who knows? Like animals?
I think it was probably a bit of parental pressure. They didn't want to do the construction industry. Dad had his own plumbing business, but turned out, I don't know how long he ran it for, but he went down a plumbing he's a plumbing certifier, now retired, but so it's probably that aspect. But took a gap year, and in that time, so my girlfriend at the time, who is now my wife, her father's best mate's friend was the builder. So it was that, 6 links of command or Kevin Bacon, so to speak. And he gave me a job. So he was at Noosa, or he was based at Cran. So I travelled, half an hour, 40 minutes every day, but I loved it. And I just took it as, it was a job at that point in time, but it kindled something pretty deep.
This wasn't your apprenticeship?
No, so that was just a gap year. So labouring. Yeah. So, and in that time I was still looking for other jobs. So, Cootsy, Shane Coots. So shout out to Shane Coots. So he.
I've heard that name. What is he a builder?
Yeah, he's a builder. So that's the builder. So he was winding up, and he just put on 2 apprentices at that point in time. So his work was winding up, and I got a job at a mill in town. So I then worked for another year in that respect, and worked at the mill, worked for a labour hire company. I planted trees in the forestry. I sprayed weeds. I did absolutely anything and everything, and in that I realised what I didn't want to do and what I did want to do, and that was be a carpenter. So that passion was then rekindled, and that was my goal and my focus. So I think that was about 08, something along those lines. So reached back out to Shane, but he wasn't looking for anyone at that point in time. So I had got some work with another local builder that only lasted a couple of months because, as you mentioned, it came into the GFC, so it was pretty hard hitting. So I remember sending out emails and resumes and phone calls to pretty much every builder I could find in the phone book. It was the yellow phone book back then, so showing the age a little bit, but and no one was putting anyone on. So I just had to keep going, to be honest, and eventually I probably annoyed Shane that much that he'd got sick of me ringing and just decided to give me another job. So I spent another year then labouring for him, and same thing, just hassled him non-stop, and I think they were giving away a really good incentive at the time, and that's the reason why he ended up putting me on. But it was just that I never gave up on it, to be honest. So
I think there's lots of good messages in just your story so far. Like, you've got to be consistent and committed, don't you?
Definitely.
Like, you can't, especially now it's getting harder and harder. Like, so we've literally in the last 3 weeks we've put on he's on his trial, but we started a new guy. Yep. Definitely, like, fresh out of school, just finished.
For an apprenticeship.
Finished high school last year, so like 17. Yep. Like, scrawny little guy. And definitely not the type of person that I would normally be looking for. Yep. But mate, this kid, like, I'll take my hat off to him. Like, he reached out to us multiple times during the year last year, sent us emails, kept hounding me to see, like, asked me if he could come and just have a chat. Yeah. And I sort of just kept pushing it aside. Then he asked if he could just come and watch guys on site. Like, anyway, long story short, we ended up getting him out to site. He met my supervisor, met with a couple of carpenters, spent an hour or two on site, had a good chat. I actually asked him to talk to the other guys. Anyway, we put him on. He's on trial. He's slow. But he's just so keen. Yeah. Like, he's asking questions, and I think, like, I'm pretty confident we're going to get him up to speed and he'll be a good kid. But he's the first kid in years and years that I have been approached like that. Like, normally they'll send an email, or whatever, they'll reach out, and that's the last you hear of them. Like, it's just, I don't know if it's their mum and dad pushing them to do it or what it is. But
well, exactly. And now being on the other side of the fence, if I get an email from a mum and dad, it needs to be emails. They need to be hassling you, calls, that interest needs to be shown, and that's something that I feel like can't be taught. Yeah.
You've got to be keen. Yeah. Like, for me, I've mentioned it a lot of times on the podcast. Like, for me, the most important thing is attitude. Yep. Like, I can teach skills,
hands down,
but I can't change an attitude.
Yeah. Definitely.
And I think that's an important lesson for everyone, because if you might have the best worker in the world, but if they got a shit attitude, you just butting your head against the wall all the time. But, like, the other thing I picked up from what you were just saying, like, you were going to go to uni and do something you fucking didn't like just because I
was getting pushed.
You were getting pushed. And this is something I'm really passionate about now, and I'll say it again, but I believe that 99.9% of people on this planet are not themselves. Yeah. They are just going down the garden path, following in footsteps or attitudes and beliefs and stories they tell themselves and all this shit. Like, I know so many people that are doing jobs they fucking hate. Yeah. But it's because they've been pushed by family to do those jobs.
Yeah. And I reckon like the only reason I'm still going, so through COVID, home builder, materials, everything, that's a whole nother podcast, but is because of how passionate I am for carpentry. I love it. You know, it's hand planes and saws and just being on site, building something with your hands is remarkable. So that's what I love about it.
I'll piss half the industry off by saying what I'm going to say next, but I don't believe there's many good carpenters out there anymore.
Yeah. No, I agree with you in that regard.
Like, just to clarify what I mean, like, to me, like from what I see these days, and it fucking shits me. Like, you see these guys on Instagram and stuff that have these big carpentry gangs.
Yep.
And like they're bulk hire. They send 10, 20 carpenters out to a block of 10 hours or whatever it may be.
They smash in a day.
They smash it up. Yep. They're using clout guns to nail cladding on. They wouldn't know how to sharpen a chisel or a saw blade if they were forced to. Everything's just slap it up, get out of there.
Get in, get out, get paid.
Yeah. Yep. And we've got a really good podcast episode coming up actually with Craig, and then the whole podcast is about skills that have been lost.
I think, yeah.
And like Craig's the man for it. Cause
definitely. He loves it.
He's a godfather of
he loves it.
Building.
Yep.
But that's what I mean when I say I don't believe there's, I think carpentry is going to become a lost skill.
Yeah.
Because to me, carpentry isn't just about being able to turn up, mark a frame out, build the frame, stand it up. Like it's all the craftsmanship behind the scenes.
It's creation.
It's maintaining your tools. It's sharpening your tools. It's looking after all your gear. It's having your truck or your trailer set up right. It's having your nail bag all laid out efficiently so you're not wasting time grabbing shit. Like this might seem like a silly one, but mate, how many people like? I used to get abused. Like, if you couldn't have a full handful of clouts and being able to feed them through your fingers,
put the nails in the right way. Yeah, that was shame.
Like, everyone's just pull one nail out, put it in. Pull one nail out, put it in.
No, he was. Yeah, I'm thankful for him now because you'd see him come to site in a cloud of dust. He was a bull at the gate, and if your hands weren't moving efficiently for him, you got to spray. Yeah, and it was. Not a deal at the time, but it turns you into the person you are now. And he was great, and our leading carpenter as well. He was the same thing, and one of those people that I absolutely hated for 3.5 years, or for of my 4-year apprenticeship. But then the last 6 months, you then realise he's just pushing you to become a better person, and then in the last 6 months, you regret not learning more off him.
I was the same, mate. I actually didn't finish my apprenticeship. I left my first boss because I just couldn't handle the constant yelling and pushing every single day. And then I went to another guy, and then he was similar, but my problem with him was like he would literally just leave me on site to bust my balls and then abuse me, like ask me why didn't I get shit done? Yeah. And I'm like, fuck, mate, I'm trying to put up 24 by 12 Safite sheets on my own and get them in. So kids these days wouldn't have a clue. Like, no. Mate, I used to have to put up 24 by 12 Safite sheets into the plastic joiner strip and nail them up on my own.
On your own.
And if the boss come back and I didn't have enough done, I'd get abused. So I had to come up with all sorts of contraptions, mate, to hold the sheet up and help me out.
Make a jig. Even making jigs.
Yeah.
That's a dying art, or you get all the pre-made jigs. And I remember Ian, who our leading hand was. I can't remember exactly what he said one day, but he was like, "I go home and make jigs." Yeah. And it was that realization that carpentry or work doesn't finish, between 6 and 4 or something along those lines. If you can then do something to speed you up on the next 2 or 3 jobs, that's part of the industry. And like you said about maintenance and sharp chisels, because if you're, and I think, because I finished my time, then went subcontracting, and same thing, if you don't have your things maintained or you don't have sharp tools, it costs you money at the end of the day. So you can see, or I think I can see a big difference in same thing, piss off the industry, who's worked for their money and who's been on an hourly rate.
Yeah.
Because there's
100%.
that stark contrast between the two.
Yeah.
But it's now finding that, you know, that line between, you know, how quickly and efficiently you can do things, but then without losing the subtle touches that make it a great trade.
But I think about it all the time now. Like I'd love to go back and if they're still alive, like see my old bosses and thank them for how hard they pushed me and what they did to me, because I wouldn't be where I am or the person I am or the trader I am if I hadn't have been put through all that. And I know it's these, like now with all the anxiety, depression, mental health stuff and all that, like it's challenging, because like now you push someone too hard and they break down and they have a week off.
Yep. We've been there.
Like, I get it. I'm a big advocate for mental health, but I just think, like, because there was plenty of times I would have easily quit my apprenticeship.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just my boss and that gave me a hard time. It was the old man as well.
Sure thing.
Well, everyone around me, like, you just had to work hard, like, get over it, like.
And that's what the industry's been for forever and a day.
Yeah. So what are we going to have in the future? Like, when things get harder, are people just going to not go to work for a few days, or where's it all going?
Exactly. That's the worrying thing, you know, and kids, and you know, trying to instill in our children, our young children, that, you know, not everything goes your way, but you've got to pull your, you know, like, it's not necessarily your fault or not necessarily the teacher's fault or anything on those lines, but you've got to pull your socks up and learn something from it and change next time, so to speak.
And the bigger the reward, isn't it? Like the harder the lesson, the bigger the reward. But look, I think the industry's, it's going to be very interesting to see where it sort of plays out over the next 20 to 40 years. Look, I don't know. If I've pissed people off about the carpentry comment, like, so be it. Like, reach out, come on the podcast. Let's have a debate about it. Like,
definitely have a chat. Well, I think I can't remember. It was one of your podcasts I was listening to, and one of the fellas said the stats that we've got 40 people leaving a year, but only 7 coming in.
Yeah.
So not only that knowledge, but the replacement.
Yeah.
You know, we've got the Olympics. We've got, you know, massive land developments and housing developments happening.
Well, mate, even just like, I just read something the other day. I was talking to a few of our subbies about it. Like, this area where we are here, Moreton Bay Regional Council. Apparently, I'm not sure if it's just been done or it's happening. Like, they're actually changing it to Moreton Bay City.
Okay.
Because we've now got such a large population. Where the third, so it basically goes Brisbane, Gold Coast, Moreton Bay City. Because of the amount of people here. So, like, at the moment, I think the numbers were it's sitting at about 380,000 in that area, in that catchment. But they're predicting by 2040, which is only 16 years away, it's going to be over 700,000. Yeah. So they're talking almost doubling the numbers in. And so who's, like, there's a lot of work.
Correct, definitely. And if there was another stat, I'm really good at knowing things but not remembering exactly where they came from. So my wife loves it. But
it's a builder's thing, though.
It is a builder's thing. We've got that much going on. But, you know, at the peak of home builder, the quantity of houses we're building then doesn't match up to the yearly statistics that the government's given out that we need to build. Yeah. I think it was 46,000 homes or something a year to meet that. Yeah. And we all know what happened in home builder with the grant, and nightmare.
Yeah, so mate, how, like, I want to deep dive into a few things with you, because one of the questions, like, with our Live Like Build business, like, we've got builders, we train mentor builders all over Australia and New Zealand. Unbelievable community, like, just incredible bunch of people to be around. I do lots of coaching, mentoring and stuff, but being in a community of builders that is so passionate about what they do, thriving to create better businesses, better lifestyle, create the new building industry, but just safe and being able to talk about anything is amazing. But one of the questions that I get, or I'm not sure what you call it actually, but like, one of the comments I get when people are thinking about signing up is that they live in a country town.
Yep.
And so you're from a country town.
Definitely.
Like, I don't know. Like, my plan is, or my theory is, if you're good at what you do, you're passionate about what you do, it doesn't matter where you live. And it wouldn't matter if you're only one of two builders in a town. You don't need to do work for everyone in that town.
Yep.
You just need to do people for the work for the people that connect with you.
Definitely.
So, like, how do you find working in a small town? Well, it's reasonably small.
Yeah, same thing, so to speak. So there's a couple of young builders coming out at the same time as me, so they've just sort of started out, and I've said to them, you know, I can't build everything, neither can you. So let's, you know, we've started having, you know, regular conversations and about, you know, clients or even, you know, what do you write in your specifications and your contracts for special conditions and things like that about, you know, like wet driveways and things like that, who's paying for materials and, you know, to make sure that they've got access to site. So it's all those little hints and tips that, you know, you share. But from working in a country town, like there's still, there is that many builders in Gympie, it's not funny. But we all seem to have work and not, you know, seem to be that competing against each other. So I think the certain style of builder attracts, you know, the clientele that they want.
Yeah. That's what it's got to be about, hasn't it?
Definitely.
Everyone needs to go away from this bloody, it's all about the price.
Yep.
Like, compete, like don't even compete. Just do your own thing and you'll attract clients that are attracted to you. And,
you know, I haven't always been like that. It took me a long time to realise to run your own race. But we haven't looked back from that point in time. And realising, you know, you can share secrets. You know, it's not all about secret keeping, because if we can, you know, and Devon from Performance Membranes, he was, you know, rising tide brings up all the ships. Yeah. So it's the same thing. If we can't, you know, if we can help each other, I think it's a better
I don't agree with that saying. But
you don't agree with it?
Well,
no.
I think it's got two sides. I think rising tide floats all boats.
Yep.
Yes, that's true.
Yep.
But a rising tide also sinks anyone that's not prepared.
Yes.
So if you've got a group of people that are trying to do well and are rising up together, the ones that are sitting on the fence and not wanting to improve, they're going to sink.
Yeah. And well, I think, you know, in all honesty, that's been happening anyway. Yeah. Is that, you know, with bankrupt builders and everything along those lines, which is, you know, very unfortunate because it affects the clients and subbies and a whole list down the line. But exactly, you know, you need to be always changing and always improving, I think, to survive in the industry, because it's always changing. You know, we've got NCC and everything else that regularly changes, and trying to build a better lifestyle and better homes. It's forever changing.
Mate, let's just go back a little bit. So we, because we got sidetracked there a little bit. But, so you have ended up getting an apprenticeship with the guy that you'd done labouring for
the very
3
first
years
labour
prior
job.
or something. And so you obviously finished your time, and then did you go builder straight away? Or
no, so I worked for Shane for probably 6 or 9 months after the fact. And then I was so eager to go out and see how other builders did things, those sorts of things, because we were very much, you know, you did one architrave at a time. You marked it, you measured it, you made sure you might have fitted. If it didn't, you hand planed it, and skirts and everything along those lines. So I was like, there's got to be not so much a better way, but a different way. And then it was within that, going to work for a few other builders, that, you know, we were doing subcontract carpentry labour and those sorts of things. In that, you realise that you are quite happy in your skill set. Still, you know, fighting for, you know, how quickly and efficiently you do things. But that was a pretty big learning curve, going out working for a few other builders, and then realising, you know, that you're happy in your trade and in yourself, and to back yourself as well. So, but then from there, we did. So my wife, she finished university at the same time I finished my apprenticeship. We did 1 year of real life work, and I had to work away. I built a house in Cardwell, built a house in Lowood, and then also at Woombye. So
Yeah.
Cardwell's about 22 hours
Yeah.
north, and that was where the work was. So there still wasn't a lot of work at that time.
Yeah.
So you just had to do it, and I wanted to do it. But yeah,
and it's good experience, isn't it? Like that's
Definitely.
I think it's very healthy for. I think younger younger trades, like they all chase the money, but they shouldn't be chasing the money. They need to chase the experience.
Definitely.
Like hold back for 6, 12, 2 years and use that time to experiment with a few different companies.
It's my leading hand at the moment. So he's actually leaving after Easter, but he's only a young fella. He's 25, but he's going to an architectural builder on the coast, and I think they'll be brilliant for him. I don't know if he'll love it exactly because he's very quick, very, very good, but it will help him in the finesse of things. So I think it'll be a great experience, and I want him to go. I want him to almost went with him, but it'd be a great experience for him to do that and see that. So, but then after that year, we wanted to change, so we moved to London for 13 months, and I did carpentry over there, and that was a massive eye-opener, dealing with heritage and everything and anything, and just the amount of money that people have over there. We were working on a £6 million renovation. Yeah. So that was 13 million Aussie back in the day, and it was a 250 square metre, 6-storey apartment in the middle of Chelsea.
What?
And
Holy
they wanted all new ceiling heights throughout, so literally gutted everything, so you could stand at the bottom and you could look up 5 stories all the way to the top. So new steelwork, everything like that, and it's just a different style. We don't do that here, definitely not in Gympie. So it was brilliant, and I think on that side of thing, we developed a passion for travelling and seeing the world and whatnot. So I'm not sure, I would think that's definitely benefited us to get where we are. But and then came back, we wanted to start a family. So we did that, and I've never really been one for a business plan, but we pretty much started our company probably 5 years earlier than we anticipated, to be honest. So I had an apprentice. We were doing carpentry subcontract work at that point in time, and one from his side, I realised he taught me a lot. My first apprentice, you can't yell at someone for something they don't know if you haven't taught them. That
is gold. I hope a couple of my chippies are listening to that one.
Because that was Cootsy. God love him, but. That was my realisation in that, and then knowing what I did in my time to what he was doing in his, we were doing prefab frames. So, 1 week you smash it up, then you go to a Safite and lock up and fix out. Like there was more to it to that, and I had one client that I couldn't shake for 9 months. She wanted me to do her renovation and extension, and was happy to wait, and we still talk. Yeah. So she still comments on my stuff, and if we see each other in the street, we have a chat. And she pretty much steamrolled me into what we are now. Yeah. And so then we haven't looked back.
Challenges what have you done to improve your business and get it to where it is now? So you obviously you run Rising Star last year. Yep. You've done some pretty complicated jobs.
Yep. That's a great question. I think it's always probably just that strive to do better than what we did yesterday. Yeah. And if there's an issue, what can we do to solve it and not do it again, or not have it happen again? So be it that's, I'm really a strong believer of communication now. Communication's the key with trades, clients.
So how do you do that?
Everyone. So verbally, text messages, emails, those sorts of things. So it's, even the little things of just, reconfirming meetings the day before, making sure that, they're going to show up, that you're going to show up. It's just that gentle reminder. And, if you're going to be 10 minutes late, you let them know, because I think, it's the honesty as well. They appreciate that.
Are you big on scheduling?
Yes.
Do you do personal
Um,
scheduling?
I do, yeah. So that's only been something I've been trying to do this year, to be honest, and setting aside, dedicated hours for, business improvement, because that's probably been the only thing lacking from, our building story from the last couple of years,
Yeah.
is actually working, on the business and tweaking the business to then, work for us. But yeah, all my trades know I love a good schedule, and I can normally, I remember my electrician saying, if you can give me a date 7 months out and you're within 2 days, I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there for you. So it's those things. So
Scheduling's huge, and
Yep.
I think it's just mate, like for 6 or 8 years, I never ran job schedules. Like I
Yep.
just say, I put 10 months on the contract, and then just turn up every day and ring everyone that needed to be rung, and
Yep.
check if people were coming and try and book things in.
And-
But it was just such a shit fight. Like scheduling jobs is enormous, but
Yep.
yeah, I'm massive on personal scheduling now. Like my wife and I have everything in our calendars. Like we know
Yep.
doctor's appointments, kids' activities. Like put
And
all your big rocks in first.
My
Personal
wife's
exercise.
big for that. So
like, we don't have to
she's-
check anything. Like you get so much more done.
Yeah,
Like,
she's she's the secret. The silent. What's the word I was looking for? Yeah, the silent partner in it, and making sure that everything runs smoothly in the back room, so to speak, from the engine room. So from a family perspective. So
yeah.
she
So have you
loves-
done any sort of coaching or mentoring? Like
No, to be honest. So I did look at that very early on, but I couldn't. The pricing I was given at that point in time, from another particular mob, I couldn't justify it, to be honest, for being young, and that was probably within as well, not realising, my margins and what you need, and overheads and everything along those lines. So that was very early on, but then from that point, I suppose I like to be a sponge. So, a little bit of, your stuff, and a little bit of, I think social media is a great thing from that perspective. And like I said, if something hasn't gone right, it's what we can do next time. So I think every client teaches me something new, every job, that we then take forward and move forward to better ourselves and better their building journey.
Do a review at the end of every job and sort of see what could we have done better, what happened there, where could we save some time, money, like all those
Definitely.
types of things?
But it's, I'm not one for, like daily invoice logging and things like that, but I definitely think you need to review your job at the end of it, because then exactly what you said, you can see, well, how can then you move forward to price or develop another job if, you allowed 10 days for cladding but it took you 15. Well, it's a special style of cladding, or it took you a little bit longer that you didn't realise. So you need to be aware of that to then transform onto your next job. So I'm a little bit of obsessive with those things, and I think that's credited the ability to like I said, we're still here, we're still going through the last few years, and I just love it. So
you're confident in all your numbers, you know what it takes to run your business
now I do.
You pay yourself a salary.
Yes.
Company makes profit.
Yes. So hasn't, we were a sole trader early on, and it's, that's probably my only regret of not, we're now with an account that's purely construction, and they're helping us from that side as well. But I remember getting a massive tax bill one year, and I said, what's the go? Oh, business was good. And, and it's from that point I was like, no, there's got to be, and now we do tax planning, you do BAS reviews, and, you know where you're heading and forecasting and cash flow, because then that, that makes your business less stressful.
Mate,
so
like you can't, I'm pleased you said you're talking to an account that's construction, like it's
massive.
Massive.
It's the difference.
One of the most popular sayings you hear in our industry is, oh, my mate does this, my mate does that. Like, fuck your mates. Like, just go and pay money and collaborate with good accountants, good lawyers, good solicitors. Like,
and it's, we've had a bookkeeper now for 4 years or 5 years. So it was that realization that, what I'm good at, what I make money, or, how best I'm making money for the business. It's not data entry. It's not doing payroll.
Yeah.
It's talking to clients and being on site and making sure everything's running smoothly.
Yeah.
And then you let the people that know what they're doing
you focus
do their
on your
jobs.
strengths and your weaknesses, and ultimately you like everyone in the business should be focusing on what brings the business the most value.
Definitely.
And if you're stuffing around wasting time and being very inefficient, or sitting in your office cursing because you don't know how to do something, again, like, I must sound like a broken record on a lot of these podcasts. Like,
we love it though.
It's your own fault. And the reason that I firmly believe that it all comes back to people don't know their running costs, don't know their overheads, aren't paying themselves for the roles they play in the business, aren't putting company profit on top of their overheads, and aren't running profitable businesses. So they try and do everything themselves because they can't afford to pay someone to do it properly. And I think it's a trap that all businesses get into. Like, everyone's always, when we get this job, or when we earn this much money, or when we have this much in a bank account, or when we save this, or when we do that, then we'll do that.
Yeah.
But reality is that never happens if you don't have a plan and a structure to get it there.
Yeah, definitely.
And so you got to do the other way. You need to understand your overheads and put the money in the overhead to pay for that person to do the job that you don't like doing, so that you can hire that person and have the money in the business to be able to pay them, and you can focus on what you want to be doing or should be doing.
Yeah, because it makes you happier then too, less stress and
It's crazy, mate. But I've been thinking, only the last few days I've been driving around, I've been thinking a lot about this, because again, I get so many calls now, messages and stuff, and people reach out, they want to sign up to QuoteEaze or join Live Life Build, and it's always like, well, it's three things. It's either I can't convince my missus.
Yep.
Number one's I don't have enough time, but
which I think everyone struggles with.
Followed very closely behind that is I can't afford it. And it drives me nuts, because if you keep telling yourself that story, you're never going to have the money to progress or do any better. And like, why I've been thinking about this a lot lately is, it's funny because, and I know I've been in this position myself a lot of the times over the years. 9 times out of 10, the answers are right in front of us. Yeah. And we're getting told, or we're listening, or we're hearing, or we're listening to a podcast, or listening to an audible book, or we're talking to a mate. Like, people are giving us the answers for everything we need in life. But we think it can't be that easy. Like, that's all it is. We're like, no, it can't be that easy. Like, that's a con, or that's fake, or that's not going to work. But reality is it does. Like, it's actually very, very easy to be very successful. It's just, I think it's just human nature. Like, it comes back to laziness. Like, I don't know, but it almost frustrates me now, because I'm so passionate about making builders and tradies more professional and create a new industry, and especially builders. And I know that what we do, like, we can tell from our community, like, our community is just absolutely killing it.
Yeah, buzzing.
But you've got to take that first step. Like, just like you taking the first step to ring builders and do whatever you need to do to get an apprenticeship.
You've got to want to be the change.
Yeah.
Within it. So.
Yeah, well, that's a good, you've got to want to be the change. So, like, how do you, like, you're kicking goals now, you've got plenty of work, you're in a small country town, there's work for everyone. Like, do you get that? Like, I understand there's guys around similar ages that you guys are connecting, but, like, is there older guys that are connecting as well, or do you still feel there's a bit of...
There's still a little bit of disconnect. You mentioned Craig earlier, so, we've been talking regularly now and whatnot, so it's really good from that perspective. I think there's still, you can't have my secrets, those sorts of things. We've started doing, we have regular master builder meetings, so to speak, so it's, you sit, and informal ones, I should say, so it's whatever members, Gympie's got 69 members, to be honest, of master builders, so there's, whoever can come, we just sit around the table and have a couple of beers, have a couple of yarns, and what's going on, or what's What's the
Jeez, that's
latest
awesome,
drama?
eh? So what, that's just builders or tradies
That's just
as well?
builders, yeah. So I'm not too sure how it sort of come about, but I think, there is that sort of feel in the industry that, we need to do something or it's going to fall apart a little bit more. So, which is great. And then I'm a big push now to try and get those couple of younger builders to come through. And then I've just been nominated to be champion of the industry for master builders for the Gympie region. So that then includes talking to school kids, expo days, those sorts of things, going to those other meetings to try to, because it is a great industry. I love it. It's a lifestyle, I feel like, but I love it every day.
Yeah.
Not, let's say 6.5 out of 7 days, I love it. But it's, we need to get more kids in, more kids involved. But it's, you've got to be the change. So
what's the half day? What's the day you don't like?
Oh, the rain lately, to be honest. But it's, I think, there's got to be that balance of good and bad in everything, because then it makes you appreciate the good times. Yeah. And you don't know you're at rock bottom or having a bad day till you can reflect on that and strive to do better. So, but it's I don't think, I've done a lot of work on not letting the little things bother you. So I think that's a massive thing. So
what do you think some of the challenges are that you face now?
Yeah, at the moment it is labour, to be honest. So we're struggling to find a couple more carpenters to come on board. So we had three carpenters and mature age apprentice last year. So we're down to 2 at the moment, and then we're losing our leading hand. So I'll go back on the tools for the next couple of months, reassess, try and get a new apprentice in, and try to find another carpenter that matches our morals and our beliefs. So we had one start this year, but we just didn't gel, just didn't work together, and it was a mutual, a conscious decision together to part ways, and wish him all the best and move forward. So we've been, I haven't really struggled with the material side of things. It's been, because we are fairly small, we do 5. I think in our biggest year we have done 5. Our focus is to do 5 to 10, depending on the size. So, we've then got the ability to forecast, what we need and whatnot. And I did, our first home in 2020, our first house, and, it sort of changed overnight. You couldn't get your trusses in 2 weeks anymore. It was 12 weeks, and windows and things like that. So then that taught me that I knew I needed to be 3 months in front. So coming back to scheduling, it was that driving factor. So I think struggles would just be that labour side of things at the moment. So
what do you how do you go about finding new carpenters?
It's probably been that word of mouth, to be honest, and it's probably not something that's worked completely efficiently, to be honest. We've had or being approached by the builders, or other carpenters, my apologies. It's, you mentioned earlier about, chippies only, smashing up frames and things like that. And we've had, people come from Melbourne and things like that, where they just do frames, and he's telling us we're slow at framing, all these sorts of things, but it's about, making sure that your doors are centre, or if it works, architraves, and, it's the little things that I feel make the big difference at the end of the job.
100%,
so it's that perspective. So it's one thing that I think I can definitely improve on. So, at the moment I'm doing I think it's how to communicate efficiently with employees through master builders. So I've sort of picked up that that's probably an area that I'm lacking in. So then what I can then do to move forward to improve it. So that's my big thing. So always trying to learn something different. So
there's so many little things, even just what you just said about setting out to suit architraves. Like, that is one of my pet hates. I cannot stand when you walk into houses and there's not full architraves. Like, they haven't even...
Exactly.
And again, this is coming back to why I say people aren't real carpenters. Like, they don't even know to check what the fit out material is going to be,
Yeah.
so that they can set out doors accurately enough to make sure that you got a full architrave in every corner.
Well, we had a client. We're on a build at the moment, and the client rings me and was in a bit of a panic, and was like, "Why are our bricks? Why are our bricks starting already?" And we're doing a brick base for the slab, and we had friends that just built with a project mob on the coast, and that didn't happen. And I was like, "Look, mate, you're probably going to have a few of that. That's going to happen a little bit on here." And you explain to them, we do a brick base, you do your window set out off the bricks. So then you don't, you try to minimise those cuts. And that's, what we try to carry out through all our projects is those little things. And then, we enjoy those building practices. I enjoy doing timber ceiling battens and straightening them and things like that.
Timber ceiling battens?
Timber ceiling battens.
Holy
so,
shit. There's metal ones?
Yes, yeah. Look, we do use the metal ones now for the normal areas, but if we have a square set ceiling or a raked ceiling or something along those lines, we'll
rake ceilings and
timber and get it
outdoor
straight.
ceilings and anything a little bit out of the ordinary, we use timber. But for just general flat ceilings, it's always metal.
No, I have made that change. That was a strong push by the boys to go to metal and from that perspective. And that's what I mean. I try and someone teaches me something new, every day or every week, be it a carpenter or a client or another sub trade. And I think you've just got to take that on board and be open to it, which again, I probably haven't always been open to it. I remember, yelling on site and carrying on like a pork chop, but it's,
Find that hard to believe, mate. You're a pretty calm spoken guy.
It's taken a while to get here. So, to be honest.
So how do you go about building culture? Like, what do you do in your team to help build culture in it and make people want to hang around?
So that's one thing as well that we're trying to change this year. So we do like a 9-day fortnight. So I was a big believer of happy worker, happy life, so to speak. So they'll go that extra mile. So that's probably been true for 95% of all our workers. So I'm really grateful for that. But we've instrumented a 9-day fortnight. We do 5 paid days off a year for our casual workers. So within that, because you've got doctor's appointments or kids' first days of school, or even we've got a carpenter at the moment. He's going for a loan, and with the rain days lately, he hasn't had his full 80-hour fortnight. So he's then been using those mental health days that we call them MHD to top up his wage, because then that, I feel like, well, it's a benefit to him, and then it will be a benefit to me. So that comes through, and we do the traditional things. We go to a pub every so often, we have a few beers and we have a few lunches, we do the golf day, those sorts of things. But it's something I think that I can change this year and next into my business, to make it a little bit more positive. So
a lot of the time there's the small things, isn't it?
Yep.
Like, people want to be able to know that if their kid's got something on at school, they can be there, and if
remembering their birthdays.
Yeah.
Buying smoko, or I'm a pretty bad coffee fiend, so it probably wouldn't be a week that goes past that we have a coffee to get. I would take the boys' coffees, and like, they love it. They probably just get me talking and not have to do too much work. But it's I think it's just the little things, and being happy within them as well, and not I hated being micromanaged as a carpenter and as an apprentice. So that's something I consciously try not to do. As long as I'm not going to tell them how to swing a door, but I'm going to tell them what I want from a gap perspective. And
do you
as
back
long
the
as
doors off, mate?
Always.
Always.
So it's so I wouldn't tell them how to do it, but as long as it's the quickest and efficient way for them, and it's still aesthetically pleasing at the end of the job, I'm happy for it. So it might not be the same way that I would do it, and that's what I mean. It's taken me a long time to realise that and be okay with that. But I trust my boys to, and I think you've got to give them that trust. So then they will they'll back themselves.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things, isn't it? Like you don't teach your kids how to ride a push bike.
No.
We're riding it for them.
Exactly.
And it is.
I love that. That's
good. I know, like, lots of trades struggle with this. Like, it doesn't matter whether you're a builder or some sort of tradie, but when it's your business and it's your name on the line, and that step from, like, when you get to a size business where you do have to step back to spend more time on the business, like letting go of that.
Yeah, it's a big call.
It's
a big feeling.
It's something that I still reminisce about all the time now. Like I think my best days in my career were on the site with the tools, nail bag on, music cranking, bit of banter on site, and just smashing it out. Like,
and I'm really looking forward to that in the next couple of months. But yeah, we'll just have to see how the cookie crumbles for everything else that
like
needs
taking
to
that
run. So
step back from that, and like not being there every day, and not seeing exactly what's getting done and how they're using different materials, and like even like I know one of my things for a long time, and I still boys probably don't like it because I still ask the question now. Like I'm pretty anal on like size of fixings, like And again, this is something else that a lot of trades and carpenters just don't pay any attention to.
As in like your nail diameter sizes and
like making sure if you nails, even for an internal fit out, like if you're using 90mm trims, make sure you got 50s in. Like I cannot stand like if they're nailing 90mm trims on and they've got 38s. Like
I've had 2 new carpenters I think in the last year, so they've nailed off bracing ply with the wrong nails.
Yeah, and
I've gone, what the fuck? What's the go? What's the thought process here, so to speak? And this is what we've always used, or always done.
Yeah.
And it's it's those little things of knowing the code, and but it's massive.
Yeah, and we've had a couple of carpenters over the last couple of years where they've come onto our team, and I've seen them doing something on site, and I'm just like, oh hey mate, like what fixings you got in the gun there?
Yeah.
And like, they get all offended. Like, I'm like, oh no, just like I want to check, mate. Like, and it'll be wrong. And I was like, oh look, on our jobs, like we would always nail that on with, not even our jobs, like building code says, or specification says, you should be using. We need to use this. Yeah. Oh, this is what I've always fucking done. Like my old boss didn't care.
Exactly.
I'm like, well, I'm not your old boss.
Yeah.
And we do shit properly. Like,
it'd
be amazing. Like the amount of jobs that'd be nailed together with the wrong size nails.
Yep.
Like, insane.
I agree. And, there's specifications for everything.
Yeah.
So I'm big on, like, we've just done some James Hardy sheet cladding. So, print it off, give it to the boys, have a read.
Yeah.
Like, this is what needs to be. You got nail centres and, because then, different houses and different, applications and climate zones or wind zones. And, but it all comes back to... and I think the biggest thing is them wanting that responsibility, but coming down to trust as well, because then backing themselves for that. So, I agree with that one. That's a big one. So
so mate, where to from here? Like, what's your goals for the business moving forward?
I think it's moving forward, it would just do a few more crazier designs from a housing perspective. So we love architectural builds. Not that big of a call in Gympie, but we like implementing skillions and raked ceilings and things like that. So I think I'm really happy with the size that we are now. I don't want to do 20 to 30 to 40 homes a year or anything like that. So it's probably just more or less streamline our processes. It'd be pretty cool to have a in-house draftsman one day in a warehouse, something like that, but then it's got to be profitable. It can't just look good, from that aspect, and have more time for the family, and that's probably the main goals. So
so you're a bit of a camping and adventure person.
I
think it's pretty standard thing, isn't it? To be in the building industry. I think you've got to be into outdoor activities.
We were really, really big on it pre-kids. So we've got they're 6 and 3 at the moment. So we're then, we're back. We've just bought a caravan last year, or a little hybrid camper. So we're trying to go away, as much as possible, and beach and fishing, and show them the good life, so to speak, and be outside and be with nature. It's great. So
Yep.
you know, we grew up, you know, camping at Inskip Point for 4 or 5 weeks a year, like
Yep.
just being absolute ferals. You know, so that's something that, you know, we want to do again. So
well, it's good, isn't it?
it's that quality time
outdoors.
So,
Getting,
yeah. And
do you find like, do you use any of that sort of messaging in your marketing, like to connect with other young families?
no, I don't actually. So that's probably a good aspect to go down. I think my main focus, or what I try to convey to clients, is clear cut communication, and working with them to achieve their goals. So we do, you know, we've developed a little bit of our own process where, you know, we get on early, we do soil testing, you know, everything along those lines that can, you know, change or affect, or how we should build the house. If it's, you know, council requirements, you know, we check all those things. So then when we go to build, it's a streamline effect, and to do a conscious budget management of that whole process. So we got sick of, you know, clients coming in, and we've had 2 builders quote 500 and 505, but our budget's 450. Can you know, this was a couple of years ago, can you do 450? And I was like, well, look, no, if 2 guys have quoted it, like it's a $500,000 house, you need to change your plans. So then it's that, you know, and then she's like, well, it's going to cost me X amount of money to change my plans. We've got energy efficiency, we've got all the other reports, engineering. So it's that then flip side. So it's more of that collaboration work that we strive on with the client. And then also,
do you charge for that process?
I do. Yeah. So, and it's, you know, very early on, probably didn't cover costs, those sorts of things, but I quickly learnt, you know, if the client doesn't see benefit in it, then they're not the client for us. And, you know, even now to the point of, you know, if I've got clients that want to meet after hours, it doesn't happen, to be honest. Like, I've got a young family, and, you know, my wife would have been a single mum the first 2 years of our building business. And I want to change that.
You've got to set expectations.
Correct. And you know, 95% of the time they're fine with that. And they agree with that. So they're more than happy to accommodate. So it's a two-way street.
Yeah, you've got to set clear expectations and then stick to them for the entire build.
It's developing that relationship then too. So, you know, they own the plans at the end of our process. They can go out and get other quotes or tenders, but we've got a pretty high success rate with what we do. Because then, you know, from that, we're making sure that the building is, you know, efficient to build. So
who's doing the plans?
Our draftsman, or the local draftsman that we use. So
they're engaged directly with him?
Through me. So with professional indemnity and everything along those lines. It's that collaboration effort, so to speak.
Well, I've talked to you a bit more off air about, mate. You're leaving yourself open for some possible big problems there.
Sure thing. Happy to discuss. So
it should never. Any other consultant should never be engaged or paid for through you. Like, it's it's a can of worms that you just never know what could happen from that. But
definitely, no, more than happy to chat, mate. It's all about learning and striving to be better than yesterday.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, mate. I hope you keep kicking goals, and look, I hope people that are listening have taken a lot out of today to, because you just prove it doesn't matter where you are in the world. Like, you're in a small country town, you still manage to get into business, grow a business, and continue to be successful. So, I think for me, there's no excuses. Like, I don't know what you think, but life definitely is what you make it. So. If you keep telling yourself you're in a small country town, you can't compete, you're never going to get enough jobs, all that sort of stuff, you're holding yourself back. So
exactly.
Mate, just before we wrap it up, like, what advice would you give to some young tradies that are maybe going through what you went through, where they can't get a job or apprenticeship? Like, what's some advice?
It just wouldn't. Just don't give up, so to speak. You've got to, you know, if you want something that bad, just strive for it, because, you know, you blink and, you know, I don't know how many years later, but, you know, you got 2 kids, a family and a dog, and a building business. So, it's... I think that's the title for this podcast. 2 kids, a family and a dog, and a building business. And a building business. So, it just wouldn't... And be, you know, if you're going to do something, do it properly.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, and just keep being persistent, eh?
Yep. Yeah.
No, mate, really appreciate your time. I know it's been a long drive down here today, but I think you've offered a lot of value, and I think,
thank you.
Continuing to, this podcast is all about just telling people stories, and by telling stories, you're going to help influence other people. So
definitely, if we can get a couple more people into the industry, it's only a good thing.
Yeah. So, mate, for anyone that wants to reach out to you, maybe possibly about a job in Gympie,
go for it.
Or a job, how do they reach you?
Yeah, no. So we've got on our website there's a messaging form base.
So just
www.alternativeconstructionprojects.com.au. You can send me an email. It's build@alternativeconstructionprojects.com.au. So you really need to want to send me an email if you type that one in. But yeah, socials, so Instagram, Facebook. We try to be big on those aspects, and it's or just give me a call. So.
Yeah, awesome. Well, mate, thanks very much for taking the time out to jump on. Look, as always, if you like the podcast, make sure you subscribe, like, share, comment, all those types of things, because this podcast can only help so many people. We want to help the world, so help us get it out there by subscribing, commenting, liking, and all those types of things. And look, if you want to be on the podcast, reach out to us. We'd love to, if you're a building designer, architect, builder, tradie, or just someone that wants to get on and tell their story. We'd actually love to have more clients on. I want to have discussions with clients about their experience when building and renovating. So if you are that person or you know someone, then make sure you reach out to us. But we'll see you on the next one.
Are you ready to build smarter, live better, and enjoy life? Then head over to livelikebuild.com/elevate to get started.
Everything discussed during the Level Up podcast with me, Duayne Pearce, is based solely on my own personal experiences and those experiences of my guests. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general information only, and any reliance on the information provided in this podcast is done at your own risk. We recommend that you obtain your own professional advice in respect to the topics discussed during this podcast.